I'm joined today by the founder and the CEO of the Drone Racing League, Nicholas Horbaczewski. Nick, it's so great to have you here today. Thank you for joining us. I know it's been an unprecedented year for so many people, for so many businesses, certainly for sports and for technology companies, of which you are both. Your headquarters are located right there in New York City. So first off, how are you doing and how's the team?
John, thanks for having me. The team is doing great. It's certainly been an interesting time, but I've been incredibly proud of our team's hustle. We've brought some innovative drone technology to light during all of this. We've had a chance to bring our esport to television for the first time, to bring entertainment to fans who are stuck at home. So in challenging times, the team has really risen to the occasion.
Yeah, we've been seeing that. And, many people watching today, there's a chance that B-roll footage they just saw right there might have been the first time they've seen Drone Racing League in action. And you can see also the fan experiences. You've got a couple thousand people that are showing up here. So it's a really cool, innovative idea. Tell us about how that innovative idea of Drone Racing League came to fruition.
Sure. So drone racing itself as a sport actually dates back to about 2010. Some folks down in Australia created the first drones that had a first-person view camera on them, meaning it had a camera on it that broadcast a video feed back to the pilot that showed the pilots the view from the drone. It was like they were sitting in the cockpit of the drone, and they immediately started racing them. By 2014, drone racing had developed into this global underground sport, and that's actually when I encountered it. A couple of videos went viral on YouTube, and I got to see it for the first time in a parking lot behind a Home Depot. It was people with homemade drones, pool noodles set up as gates, just sort of backyard barbecue style. But I thought it was one of the coolest things I'd ever seen. And it filled me with this passion to see how we could bring this sport to a mainstream audience. And that's really been the mission of DRL. And that's what we've been up to for the last 4 years. And you can see in the video, we've gotten to go all over the world, have events with thousands of people, broadcast in dozens of countries, and really take this amazing sport and bring it to the mainstream.
Yeah, you've certainly done that. And I think you've done that in a pretty quick amount of time. I think it's also impressive to watch the recruiting mechanism that you have. I love seeing the tournaments online that then flow into the finals. I got to come and see one over at our esports arena here at the Luxor. That was pretty exciting. I think a lot of people have flown drones. I've purchased one off the shelf. I've flown with my kids. It's wound up on the neighbor's roof a couple of times. We've got to get it down from there. And so I go from that, and then I see like the precision of the racers and the precision of these drones that are just flying through at 80, 90, 100 miles per hour. And, I see that. And like, first of all, how does someone become an FPV pilot? Let's start there. And then as I've seen the iteration of the winners, why do the best racers seems like just keep getting younger?
Yeah, you said it, John. I mean, these pilots have such incredible skill. So people should really understand these FPV racing drones are not like the camera drones you might fly around your neighborhood. They are fully manual. The pilot is completely in control. If you flip it over, it'll flip over and slam right into the ground. So they are controlling these things through, high-speed maneuvers on, closed-in three-dimensional courses. So it's really incredible. To learn that skill really takes some time, and we facilitate that through the DRL simulator. So it's available on Steam. Anyone can download it. It teaches you how to fly through 50 different missions, teaching you all the basics of flight, and then lets you go out and challenge your friends, race the courses you see in DRL. It's a great way to learn that learning flight mechanics through simulation and then translating into the real world. In terms of the pilots getting younger, they're definitely getting younger. We recently lowered the age to participate in DRL to 16 because that's the minimum age limit the FAA set for your Part 107. So it's opening up this world of piloting to an even younger group. And we've set up as many ways as we can to get people into the sport. We're actually doing a series right now in partnership with the US Air Force. It's called Flight School. We have former world champion Nurk doing a weekly series where he helps fans learn about flying, improve their skill. You can tune in on Saturdays on Instagram, Twitter, YouTube, everywhere. Check it out. And Nurk's going to teach you everything from how to fly a drone to how to program it to how to set your camera tilt.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. And so my 11-year-old, my 8-year-old, we can go download it together. We can fly the simulator. And I put them in training for the next 4 to 5 years. So when they turn 16, they can come get that license and race for you, right?
Exactly. That's exactly right. Never too early to start training for your future pro career as a racer.
And trust me, that's what they want to do. So I'm looking forward to bringing that into the Flynn family a little bit more. You know, some of the key themes we've been talking about today, some of the previous briefings, we've been talking about additive manufacturing. We've been talking about 3D printing. We've been talking about agile manufacturing. And you take a look at, and we'll get into this here in a second, you take a look at the entire drone racing league experience. You own the entire league from start to finish. Can you share with us how you thought about full ownership? Because it seems like a smart strategic play. And also you standardized the drones year in and year out, so no one could bring in their own drone. Why did you decide to go full league ownership? And then why did you decide to go and standardize all the drones?
Definitely. You know, one of the things that surprises people when they learn about DRL is that we are a fully vertically integrated company. So we produce all of our own technology. So the drones, the radio systems to control that drone, the timing and scoring system, all of that is developed in-house by DRL's engineering team. We're also our own media company, so we film all of the content from our races and distribute it globally. And we're a sports league and sports event production company. We put on a racing series, we set the rules, we do all of our own events. And we chose to do that early on because we found we needed that to succeed. The technology to do drone racing at a professional level didn't exist when we started this company. And so we had to develop our own technology. No one was sure how you filmed a drone that's the size of a dinner plate going 90 miles an hour through a three-dimensional course and convey that to an audience at home. So we had to develop our own proprietary filming techniques. And then we had to integrate this all together into a live sporting experience. And that ability to be an expert in each of those areas and then integrate it very tightly has really been the secret of our success. People are amazed. They come to our events and they see we bring a fleet of over 600 identical Racer 4 drones. These are drones that go from 0 to 90 in less than a second, and they crash all the time. We standardize them so that every pilot's racing an identical drone. It means when you see a pilot win, it's about pilot skill. It's not about a variance in the drone. That's really important to our fans. They want to see the greatest pilot in the world. And some of the innovations we've had around things like radio system, creating a radio system that allows you to control drones in an indoor space where there are thousands of people in the audience at very high speeds. That work on the core technology of remote robotics has really not only enabled the sport, but is helping to push the boundaries of what it's possible to do with drones, even in the real world.
Yeah, and I got to say, it was exciting to see a drone crash. It gave me hope for my future if I ever wanted to race with you. But also, that just adds to the drama of the entire race. And the way that you guys have been able to piece in the personal narratives over time have also been pretty fun to see, because people have their favorite racers now. These racers have their own social media profile, and they get to follow them just like every other major sports league that's out there. So it's been pretty neat to see that evolution happen.
Absolutely. I mean, these are professional pilots. This is what they do. They race drones for a living. And it's hard to think of a more exciting thing to be a teenager or someone in your early 20s, take this incredible skill of drone racing, win a pro contract, get to go all over the globe, showcase that skill, win championships in front of thousands of people, broadcast on TV to millions of people, build up your own social media profile. Like it's a pretty exciting journey. It's a modern sports star story of being incredibly adept with technology, very skilled, but also bringing into this whole new futuristic sport.
Yeah, it's great to see. And I'll tell you what, we heard our assistant secretary of where Dr. Roper talk yesterday. He talked about deploying a base in a box. And of course, we're always deploying, we're deploying to forward operating bases. We're deploying to all parts of the world for that matter. And I think about the Drone Racing League, and when I got to see you guys in action here a couple of years ago in Las Vegas, it reminded me of a small deployment, because like you mentioned, you're bringing all of your drones out, you're bringing all of the equipment, you got your advanced team that's go out way ahead of time, because you're having to connect all these RF signals at the same time. And I think through, when I go through a tunnel and I'm on my cell phone and I lose that signal, and then I have to make that call back when I get on the other side. What you guys are trying to do is making sure that hundreds of cell phones going through that tunnel are maintaining that signal in sync. And that sort of preparation takes a ton of time to be able to do. And I don't think everybody has a full appreciation for that. So can you step us through first, like the rigors of the design process for the drones and the 3D printers that you have back at your headquarters in New York, and then talk us through what setting up a course halfway around the world looks like when you think about logistics and the supply chain, because we've been talking about that for the last couple of hours here at AFWERX Fusion.
Absolutely. I think there are a lot of parallels. So when you think we're going to show up at an event site, we send a forward team that scouts the site, measures the RF environment, designs the course, thinks about logistically how we're going to bring all this equipment on site. When we get on site, we are building a custom radio network that needs to support the drones in the air. So these drones have really stringent radio requirements, sub 20 milliseconds of video latency. As you said, they're going through tunnels, they're going underground, they're going behind objects. They can never lose contact. So we need an absolutely robust radio network. It needs to be field deployable. We need to be able to walk out and deploy this radio network and be certain that it is going to work in any environment. And we've done a lot of work across understanding radio performance. We design our own radios, spectrum, and how to utilize it. So it's a lot of thought, and I think there are some parallels there of what in the future when you show up to a site, you need to be able to set up a communication network. It needs to be reliable. It needs to support the equipment you're going to have on site. And in our case, this is very demanding equipment from a radio performance standpoint. And then we bring in this fleet of drones, hundreds of identical drones. We're racing them. So when we do a race, an event is made up of many, many heats. And 6 drones will fly at a time. Each heat is about a minute long. And on average, half the drones crash in every heat. These pilots are pushing the very limits of human performance and technology. So they are going right to the red line. About half the drones crash every time. So these drones are crashing. These drones need to be field repairable. We don't always get to go back to HQ before we move on to the next event. So we need to be able to take the drone apart. They need to be modular in design. We need to be able to fix them. When a critical component is breaking, we need to be able to manufacture that component on site through 3D printing. When you take our drones apart, a lot of the components are 3D printed so that we can manufacture them on demand in real time. Sometimes we need to turn the fleet in just a day, repair hundreds of drones back to not only just good condition, but mint racing condition, and ship them off to their next site. So we're thinking about a lot of the same challenges that have been discussed in the previous presentations about how do you 3D print parts for something? How do you make sure that you can have on-demand supply chain, as well as just thinking through all those logistics of coming in, setting up a very elaborate, complex site, breaking it all down and moving it on seamlessly.
Yeah, and I'm going to ask you about the Air Force partnership, because we've had a multi-year partnership with the Drone Racing League here for a couple of years. First, you signed a partnership with NBC Sports in 2019. Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That's a huge accomplishment. And I think all of us can see there are definite benefits to both the league and the Air Force by having this partnership. And over the last couple of weeks, as I've continued to research and I guess update myself on the past season, you've done a lot of stuff with the Air Force. You got flight school, you got episodes of the Boneyard in Arizona, an Air Force branded DRL sim map that's been raced a week or so ago. It was 10,000 times. Today, it's over 30,000 times. So the downloads and number of times that people are coming back and loving your sport continues to increase just in the last month. So can you share with us how and why it makes sense for both of these brands to come together?
Absolutely. We love our partnership with the U.S. Air Force. We share a lot of values. We are both very focused on innovation and bringing together people who have a genuine passion for flight. And I think that runs through our DNA. It runs through the Air Force's DNA. So when we get together, a lot of exciting things happen. We reach these drone enthusiasts. We reach engineers, people who want to discover opportunities of what to do with their professional life that taps into this passion. So we work a lot with the USAF on helping them find that talent, connecting the dots together, letting USAF find innovative people who are passionate about flight, and letting those people find the opportunities that are going to let them do what they love. And we work together, as you said, in a number of ways. USAF is integrated into our racing broadcasts. It's integrated into our live events. We've done custom content shoots. We take our pro pilots, get to go to bases around the world and actually expose them to what's actually going on in the field. We have the branded Boneyard map and the sim, so you can fly around a USAF branded environment with planes and blimps and all sorts of stuff in there. And then, of course, the digital series. The weekly digital series is a great way to actually get into the nitty gritty of teaching people about the not only the flight, but the engineering behind it.
Yeah, and I just think about recruiting, like you've mentioned a couple of times. for the Air Force, and the fact that we have, potential, airmen of the future that are sort of learning aerodynamics and learning technology and learning these things at a very young age. I know what I was like when at the age of 22 and how little I knew about aviation. And I could just imagine that if I had that extra 10 years of experience and training, how much better I could have been when I went into the Air Force.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
It's
So
great.
Yeah. So thank you for that. Last couple of minutes, we've got about 4 minutes left here. I do want to talk about culture of innovation, because we've heard a lot of people say that it starts at the top, and there's a lot of things that you need to be able to do to inspire that. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys, much like AFWERX, you facilitated a little bit of innovation of your own that I think came from your mind and a few others. Can you talk about the AIRR circuit first? And then I want to go into how did you drive this culture of innovation at the league?
Sure. So AIRR, or AIR, stood for Artificial Intelligence Robotic Racing. So this is something we did. This dream started years ago. When we first started DRL, we said, wouldn't it be amazing if it was human pilots and then some robotic pilots, some AI mixed in there? If we're going to be the sport of the future, human versus AI should be part of this. And we always had this dream, but there really was not AI capable of piloting a high-speed drone in the way the top human pilots do. So we did a program last year called AIR and the Alpha Pilot Challenge. We partnered with Lockheed Martin. We designed a fully autonomous racing drone. We invited in teams from around the world to create effectively AI pilots, to create a program that could fly that drone. And they went head to head through a series of competitive racing events. It was really exciting, not only the racing itself, but just to see the innovation, the leaps that these teams were making in the speed and performance. Ultimately, a team from the Netherlands, Team MAVLab, won $1 million cash prize for designing the fastest racing drone out there. And then we got a chance to put it head to head with Gab 707, who is not only a top DRL pilot, also a physicist, and he raced against it. Gab won, but not by as much as I think Gab thought he would. And we love that, seeing in real time that gap between AI performance and human performance closing. I think one day we will get an AI pilot in the league. Not quite yet. For the moment, the humans have the edge. But it was just so much fun to actually in real time see that level of innovation, that level of technology design. We had a blast last year doing AIR.
Yeah, that's incredible to hear. And a lot of these ideas, this isn't something that you just created 5 years ago from the league perspective. It keeps getting better and better and better every year. And that's why it's so important when we talk about leadership, driving this culture of innovation, given the top cover, fail fast, these sorts of concepts is so important. How are you doing that? Tell us some of the things that a lot of our business owners, a lot of our service members, just anybody who's tuning in can draw upon some of the lessons you've learned.
I think we have a bit of an advantage here at DRL. A lot of what we're doing is bringing to life things that you've only seen in science fiction movies or video games. And, we get a bar set by CGI movies and say, can we go out and make that real? AI drones flying through courses, drones going 90 miles an hour through three-dimensional courses, really bringing the future to life in a really tangible way. So we're very lucky in that way that we've got these objectives out there that are really relatable, people understand. But then we just need to push ourselves. We never rest on our laurels from a technology standpoint. And whether it's trying to design a racing drone that can defeat a human with an autonomous pilot, we've set the Guinness World Record for the fastest drone on the planet, or even now what we've done during the current crisis, we stepped back and said, what is it going to take for us to put new sports content on TV? We designed a whole series based on simulator racing that could be done safely over social distancing, but had all the thrilling elements and racing of our full sport. So I think we think about that every day. We're driven by that passion to bring to life things that were only imaginary shortly before, and to never stop.
Yeah, and on the philanthropic side, I think what you did, opening up that download, allowing people globally to be able to download and race, I think is pretty incredible. And you had a lot of great feedback on that, I know. So thanks for doing that. And I'm about to get the virtual hook here, so I got two more for you.
Yeah.
On the inclusion side, you had a great announcement here for your leadership team at the Drone Racing League. I think you set history for a major sports league. You mind sharing that with us or reminding us what that was?
Yeah, absolutely. we recently, diversity and inclusion is hugely important to us. I think one of, you got to think about that at two levels. For us, it's the sport and the company. On the sport level, one of my favorite things about drone racing, anybody can do it. It is open to any age, any gender, any ability level. It is a sport that anyone can participate in. And I think it brings people together in a way that is unique. And it's what attracted me to the sport to begin with. It's a sport that went global on its own passion. There was no TV at that time. There was no money behind it was just people loved it, and it brought together people of different backgrounds. So I think the sport really celebrates inclusion. And on the diversity side, as a company, we think about this a lot. We recently announced that we brought in Rachel Jacobson, former head of global partnerships for the NBA, to be the president of DRL. And I'm really proud. The majority of our C-suite is women, and I think that it's one element of diversity that's important. I think people sometimes don't expect it with this sport, but it absolutely is important to us. And I'm proud that we get to celebrate diversity and inclusion both like on the field and in our headquarters in New York.
Yeah, I love that, Nicholas. And final question at 20 seconds: personal growth. How do you keep things in balance?
I never stop. I love to learn. I think for me, balance is about new experiences, pushing the element. There's things I love to do. I love to travel. I love to get out in the natural world, ice climbing, skydiving, dog sledding, anything that sort of gives me a new headspace, lets me, get out and have new experiences is important to me. It keeps us fresh. It keeps us innovative, and lets us keep staying excited every day about pushing the boundary of what's possible at DRL.
Thanks for that, Nicholas. And thank you so much for spending so much time with us today. The CEO and founder of the Drone Racing League, Nicholas Horbaczewski. And I'll tell you what, it was titled The Sport of the Future, but I think it is the sport of the now.